Picture this. You're sitting across from your best friend at brunch, and she's showing you the engagement ring he just put on her finger last weekend. The rock is gorgeous, 3 carats, cushion cut, exactly what she always wanted. She's glowing, already talking about venues and color schemes and whether destination weddings are tacky or romantic. Her mama is already calling relatives. The Pinterest board has been activated, and you're sitting there with your mimosa trying to figure out how to tell her what you know. That he's been using her credit card for months without asking. That he quit his job 6 weeks ago and never mentioned it to her. That the beautiful life she's imagining might be built on a foundation made of quicksand. Let me tell you something. This scenario isn't hypothetical for me. I've been that friend at the brunch table, watching someone I love walk toward a financial disaster wearing a white dress and rose-colored glasses. And I've also been the woman who almost married the wrong person because I didn't know what questions to ask or what warning signs to look for. Nobody taught me that stuff. Nobody sat me down and said, Felicia, here's how you protect yourself financially before you commit your whole life to somebody. I had to learn the hard way, and I don't want that for you. My name is Felicia, and I spend way too much time thinking about the intersection of money, love, and the decisions that shape our entire financial futures. If you've ever wondered whether your relationship is financially healthy, or if you've had that nagging feeling in your gut that something about your partner's money situation doesn't quite add up, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Because today we're not talking about wedding budgets or joint bank accounts or what color the bridesmaids should wear. We're talking about the 10 financial red flags that should make you pause before you say I do. The warning signs that separate relationships built for long-term wealth from relationships headed straight toward financial disaster and divorce court. Here's what nobody tells you about marriage that I wish someone had told me when I was younger and more naive and thought love was enough to conquer everything. Marriage is the biggest financial contract most people will ever sign in their entire lives, bigger than your mortgage, bigger than your student loans, bigger than any business deal you'll ever make. When you marry someone, you're not just promising to love them through sickness and health, through better and worse. You're promising to merge your financial life with theirs, their debts, their spending habits, their relationship with money, their family's expectations about money, their credit score, their financial trauma. All of it becomes part of your life too. According to the Institute for Divorce Financial Analysts, money problems are the 3rd leading cause of divorce in America, right behind basic incompatibility and infidelity. And here's what that statistic doesn't capture. Money problems often cause the incompatibility and the infidelity. Financial stress doesn't just strain your budget. It strains your mental health, your intimacy, your ability to communicate, your entire foundation as a couple. I've watched marriages that looked perfect from the outside crumble because nobody wanted to have the hard money conversations before the wedding day. The first red flag I need you to watch for is secrecy around basic financial information. And I mean basic information that any adult should be able to share with someone they're planning to build a life with. If your partner won't tell you how much they make, how much debt they have, or where their money goes each month, that's not privacy, that's hiding. Now, let me be clear about something because I know this is a sensitive topic and I don't want anybody misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm not telling you that you need to know every dollar your partner spends from day one of dating. I'm not saying you should be auditing their receipts on your second date. But by the time you're talking about marriage, by the time you're planning a life together, by the time someone is asking you to legally bind yourself to them, you should have a clear and complete picture of their financial situation. And if every conversation about money gets deflected, changed, or shut down with some version of why does it matter, or you don't trust me, or money isn't important in a relationship, that's a problem that won't get better after you sign a marriage license. In fact, that problem is about to become legally your problem too. The reason this matters so much, especially for us as women, is that financial secrecy almost always masks financial dysfunction. People don't hide good news. They hide bad news, embarrassing news, news they know would change how you see them. According to a 2023 National Endowment for Financial Education survey, about 43% of adults who have combined finances with a partner or spouse admitted to some form of financial deception, hiding purchases, lying about debt, maintaining secret accounts, understating how much they spent on something. 43%. That means nearly half of people in committed relationships are hiding something significant about money from the person they supposedly love and trust most. And the partner who refuses to have honest conversations about finances before marriage is often the partner who has something substantial to hide. The real cost of marrying someone with hidden financial dysfunction isn't just the debt they bring into the marriage, though that's bad enough. It's the years you'll spend cleaning up messes you didn't know existed. It's the opportunities you'll miss because your combined financial picture is worse than you thought. And it's the trust that gets destroyed when the truth finally comes out, because the truth always comes out eventually. The second red flag is what I call the lifestyle math problem, and once I explain this to you, you're going to start noticing it everywhere. This is when your partner's lifestyle doesn't match their stated income in ways that don't add up no matter how you calculate it. They drive a luxury car but claim to make $50,000 a year. They always pick up the check at expensive restaurants but say they're saving for a house. They have designer everything, shoes, bags, watches, clothes, but their apartment looks like they just moved in 3 years ago with no furniture. They take lavish vacations but can't explain how they afford them. Here's what they won't tell you about this situation. That lifestyle is probably being financed by debt, by family money they don't want to discuss, or by something even more concerning that you really don't want to discover after you're legally married to them. I've seen women marry men who seemed financially successful, who projected wealth and security, only to discover that the success was an elaborate performance funded by credit cards, maxed to their limits, and loans from people who were starting to demand repayment. But here's the flip side that we don't talk about enough, and this is important for my sisters who might be on the other end of this equation. Sometimes we're so impressed by the appearance of success that we don't ask the uncomfortable questions that would reveal the truth. We've been socialized to not talk about money, to not ask rude questions, to just trust that a man who presents himself a certain way must actually be that way. We don't want to seem gold digging or materialistic, so we don't ask how they afford the lifestyle they're projecting. But asking those questions isn't materialistic, it's smart. It's self-protective. You're not asking because you want their money. You're asking because you need to know whether their financial foundation is real or whether you're about to marry a house of cards that's going to collapse with you inside it. If the math doesn't math, you need to know why before you sign any paperwork that makes their financial problems your financial problems too. Red flag number 3 is the complete absence of financial goals or plans for the future. I'm talking about the partner who lives entirely in the present moment when it comes to money, with no thought whatsoever about tomorrow, no retirement savings, not a 401k, not an IRA, nothing. No emergency fund to handle unexpected expenses. No plan for the future beyond hoping everything works out somehow. They'll spend $300 on sneakers without thinking twice, but look at you like you're speaking a foreign language when you mention a 401k or ask about their investment strategy. Now, I want to be careful here because I know financial literacy isn't distributed equally in this country. Some people genuinely weren't taught about money growing up. Their parents didn't know, their schools didn't teach it, and nobody in their community talked about wealth building. That's not entirely their fault, that's a systemic failure. But there's a crucial difference between someone who doesn't know about financial planning and wants to learn versus someone who doesn't know and doesn't care to learn. The first person is teachable, coachable, someone you can build with. The second person is a liability who will drag down your financial future for decades. The statistics on this are genuinely alarming and should wake up anybody who's considering marrying someone without financial goals. According to the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, the median retirement savings for Americans under 35 is around $13,000. For those 35 to 44, it's about $60,000. These numbers are already concerning for anybody paying attention, but they mask massive disparities that affect us specifically. Women have 30% less saved for retirement than men on average, largely because of the pay gap, career interruptions for caregiving, and being steered towards safe, low-return investments. Black women have even less. Median retirement savings for Black households is about $30,000 compared to over $200,000 for white households. We're already starting behind in this race. When you marry someone with no financial goals and no interest in developing them, you're not just accepting their current situation, you're accepting responsibility for building their entire financial future while simultaneously trying to build your own and likely already starting from behind because of systemic factors beyond your control. That's a weight that will crush your own wealth building potential if you're not careful about who you partner with. The fourth red flag is explosive or controlling behavior around money conversations. This one is personal for me because I've experienced it firsthand, and I know how confusing it can be when you're in the middle of it. I'm talking about the partner who gets angry when you ask about finances, not just uncomfortable, but genuinely angry like you've insulted them personally. The partner who makes you feel guilty for wanting transparency about something as fundamental as money. The partner who uses money as a tool to control, manipulate, or punish. The partner who tells you that asking questions about finances means you don't trust them, don't love them, or are being controlling yourself. This isn't just a financial red flag, it's often an abuse red flag that you need to take extremely seriously. Financial abuse is real. It's more common than most people realize, and it frequently starts before marriage and escalates dramatically after. According to the National Network to End Domestic Violence, 99% of domestic violence cases involve some form of financial abuse. 99%. Financial abuse might start as small things, controlling how you spend money, questioning every purchase you make, limiting your access to accounts, making major financial decisions without your input. By the time you're married, it can escalate to destroying your credit, running up debt in your name without your knowledge, sabotaging your employment so you're financially dependent, or making it financially impossible for you to leave even when you desperately want to. If your partner punishes you emotionally for asking reasonable questions about money, if they rage, sulk, give you the silent treatment, or make you feel like you've done something terrible, that's not a communication style difference. That's a warning sign flashing in bright red letters. If they make you feel stupid or ungrateful for wanting financial clarity, they're training you to stop asking questions. And the partner who trains you to stop asking questions before marriage will absolutely expect your silence after marriage when the stakes are even higher. Red flag number 5 is a pattern of financial sabotage or self-destruction that repeats over and over regardless of circumstances. This is the partner who has a good income but always seems to be broke by the end of every month. The one who gets windfalls, tax refunds, work bonuses, inheritance money, and somehow it's completely gone within weeks with absolutely nothing to show for it. The partner who has declared bankruptcy, had cars repossessed, or been evicted multiple times. The one who always has a story about why this time was different, why it wasn't really their fault. I'm not saying people can't change or recover from financial setbacks, because they absolutely can. Life happens to all of us. Medical emergencies wipe out savings. Job losses come out of nowhere. Economic downturns affect entire industries. These things are real, and they don't automatically make someone a bad partner. But patterns are fundamentally different from isolated incidents. A pattern of financial self-destruction usually indicates deeper issues that a marriage certificate will not fix, addiction problems that haven't been addressed, mental health challenges that aren't being treated, fundamental beliefs about money rooted in scarcity or self-sabotage. The research on financial behaviors is clear on this point. A study from Kansas State University found that couples who argued about money early in their relationships were significantly more likely to divorce, regardless of how much money they actually had. It wasn't about income level. Wealthy couples with money conflicts divorced at similar rates to lower income couples with money conflicts. It was about how they related to money. And someone with a pattern of financial self-destruction typically has a relationship with money rooted in shame, avoidance, or deep-seated self-sabotage that won't magically heal when they put a ring on your finger. In fact, marriage often makes these patterns worse because the stakes get higher and the stress increases. The sixth red flag is family financial enmeshment that crosses healthy boundaries, and this one is huge, especially in our community where family obligations run deep and boundaries around money can feel almost non-existent. Let me tell you something about family and money that nobody wants to say out loud because it feels disrespectful or ungrateful. There's a significant difference between supporting your family when they genuinely need help and being financially exploited by your family because they've decided you're the one who made it out. There's a difference between helping your mama with her light bill during a hard month and being expected to fund your entire extended family's lifestyle indefinitely. There's a difference between generosity and being treated like a communal ATM machine. And when you marry someone, their family expectations become your family expectations too. If your partner's family treats them like a bottomless bank account, after marriage, that bank account has your name on it too. I've watched women marry men whose mothers still controlled their bank accounts well into their 30s because that's just how it was in their family. I've seen marriages destroyed because a partner was sending half their paycheck to various relatives without any discussion. I've witnessed couples who couldn't save a single dollar toward their own home because family obligations consumed every spare dollar every single month. And here's what made me genuinely angry when I really understood this dynamic. The people who benefit from this enmeshment will often accuse you of being selfish, bougie, or not understanding our culture if you push back even slightly. They'll question your love for your partner. They'll make you the villain. But taking care of your family and being financially boundaryless with your family are not the same thing at all. Before you marry someone, you need to understand exactly what their family expects financially, how much, how often, for how long, and whether those expectations leave any room for you to build a life together. Red flag number 7 is refusal to address existing debt honestly and create a real plan for dealing with it. Let me be clear. Debt itself isn't necessarily a red flag. Most Americans have debt of some kind, and that's just the reality of the economic system we're living in. Student loans that paid for education, car notes that get you to work, mortgages that put a roof over your head. The red flag isn't having debt. Most people you meet will have some. The red flag is hiding the true extent of debt, refusing to discuss a realistic plan for addressing it, or continuing to accumulate more debt recklessly while minimizing the problem and acting like it's no big deal. According to Experian, the average American has over $100,000 in debt when you include mortgages. Even excluding mortgages, the average non-mortgage debt is about $23,000 per person. These numbers mean most people you date will bring some debt into the relationship. The question isn't whether they have debt. The question is whether they're honest about exactly how much, what kind, and how it accumulated. The question is whether they're committed to addressing it with a real plan. Here's the part that affects you directly. In many states, debt accumulated during marriage becomes marital debt regardless of whose name is on the account. Your spouse runs up $50,000 in credit card debt after the wedding. That's your debt too, in the eyes of the law and the creditors. Even in states that don't automatically assign debt responsibility, your partner's debt affects your joint ability to qualify for mortgages, make major purchases, or achieve financial goals together. Their debt becomes a ceiling on your shared financial life. If someone is cagey about their debt before marriage, imagine discovering the true scope of it after you've legally merged your financial lives. I've talked to women who found out their husbands had 6 figures in hidden debt only after the wedding. That's not just a secret, that's a betrayal with lifelong financial consequences. The 8th red flag is fundamentally incompatible money values with no willingness to compromise or even try to understand the other person's perspective. I'm talking about the saver who marries the spender with neither person willing to meet in the middle. The disciplined investor who partners with the you only live once person who thinks retirement is a problem for future them. The frugal minimalist who ends up with someone who needs the latest everything to feel worthy. Opposites can absolutely attract and even complement each other beautifully. Some of the strongest financial partnerships I've personally seen involve one person who's naturally cautious with money and one who's naturally adventurous. The balance actually works when both people genuinely respect each other's perspective and find middle ground through real communication. The red flag isn't having different money personalities. That's normal and can even be healthy. The red flag is rigid, stubborn unwillingness to compromise, adjust, or understand the other person's approach at all. Research from the Gottman Institute, which has studied marriages and what makes them succeed or fail for decades, found that 69% of relationship conflicts are about perpetual problems that never get fully resolved, and money is consistently one of the biggest perpetual issues. The couples who make it aren't the ones who agree on everything financial from day one. They're the ones who can discuss their differences respectfully, who genuinely try to understand why their partner feels the way they do about money, and who find solutions that honor both perspectives. If your partner dismisses your financial values entirely, mocks your concerns about saving, or refuses to adjust any spending behavior whatsoever to accommodate your partnership, that rigidity will show up in every financial decision you ever make together for the rest of your marriage. Red flag number 9 is a refusal to consider any legal protections or have adult conversations about protecting both partners. Let me tell you something about prenuptial agreements that y'all need to hear, because there's so much stigma around this topic, especially for women. A prenup is not planning for divorce. A prenup is not saying you don't trust your partner. A prenup is clearly defining expectations, protections, and plans while you're both in love and thinking clearly, instead of leaving those decisions to expensive lawyers and unsympathetic judges if things go wrong years from now. If your partner refuses to even discuss a prenup, especially when there's significant asset disparity between you, business ownership on either side, children from previous relationships, or family wealth involved, that's concerning and worth examining closely. It could mean they haven't thought seriously about the business side of marriage. It could mean they're hoping the lack of legal clarity will benefit them later if things go wrong. According to the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers, there's been a significant increase in millennials requesting prenuptial agreements compared to previous generations. This isn't cynicism about marriage, it's awareness that marriage is both an emotional commitment and a legal contract. The partner who truly loves you and respects your financial future should want you both protected clearly and fairly. The partner who gets offended by even the concept of discussing legal protection is someone you should question carefully. The 10th and final red flag is the absence of any shared financial vision for your life together. I'm not talking about having every detail planned out, nobody has that. I'm talking about basic alignment on what you're building together and where you're heading as a team. Do you both want to own a home someday? What's the rough timeline? How do you feel about having children? And have you discussed how you would handle the massive financial impact of raising kids? What does retirement look like in each of your minds? How do you prioritize spending on experiences versus building security? If you can't have these conversations before marriage, if every attempt gets shut down or deflected, or if having them reveals that you want fundamentally different lives that can't be reconciled, that's critical information you need before making a lifelong legal commitment. According to research from Jeffrey Dew at Utah State University, couples who reported disagreeing about finances once a week were over 30% more likely to divorce than couples who reported disagreeing only a few times per month. Frequency of financial conflict matters enormously, and that frequency is almost always rooted in fundamental disagreement about financial vision. Here's the truth about all of these red flags that ties everything together. None of them are ultimately about money, not really. They're about values. They're about communication. They're about respect. They're about whether you can build a true partnership with someone or whether you're signing up for a constant struggle that will drain your finances, your energy, and your spirit. Money in marriage is a multiplier. It amplifies whatever is already there. It multiplies good partnerships into great ones. And it multiplies problematic partnerships into absolute disasters that take years to recover from. What I want you to take from this video is permission. Permission to ask the hard questions before you say I do. Permission to require complete transparency from someone who's asking you to legally merge your life with theirs. Permission to walk away from someone who waves red flags no matter how much you love them. Permission to protect your financial future even when people call you calculating or unromantic for doing so. The women who build wealth in marriage are the ones who chose partners deliberately, who had honest conversations before the ceremony, who noticed the red flags and either addressed them seriously or walked away when they couldn't be resolved. They're not luckier. They're more informed. So before you say I do to anyone, run through these 10 red flags honestly. Not with the love-blinded hope that everything will work out somehow, but with the clear-eyed assessment of someone who understands that marriage is both the most romantic and the most financially consequential decision you'll ever make. If your partner passes all 10 checks, that's beautiful. That's the foundation for building something real together. But if you're seeing red flags and hoping they'll change after marriage, let me tell you something from experience. They won't. The person you're seeing now is exactly who you're marrying. Choose accordingly. Because your financial future, your peace of mind, and your ability to build the life you deserve all depend on getting this decision right.